are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And we are back here on the GSMC.
Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth, and it's great to have you guys here on this Friday, November 15th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, I just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate, get your comments recognized. Make sure to hit that super chat button in the chat to see me acknowledge any thought or comment you may have throughout the live broadcast. It makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate your guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, gsmcpodcast.net. That is gsmcpodcast.net. So let's get into what we are going to discuss for today. So we're going to start off the show. We'll recap last night's game between the Eagles and the Commanders. Eagles winning that one 26-18. And then the next two segments, we will preview some of the biggest games of the weekend in the NFL. So second part of the show, we'll talk about the Chiefs-Bills matchup. Chiefs coming in at 9-0, Bills 8-2. So we'll get into all that. The latest in the Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen saga. Then in the third part of the show, we'll talk about the big matchup in the AFC North between the Steelers and the Ravens. Battle for first place there. And then the final two segments, we'll take a look at some of the big college football matchups for this weekend. We'll take a look back at the scores from last week. And I will get to, I know you guys have definitely looked at it, but I will take a look at the college football playoff rankings because I was supposed to do that the other day and I failed to do so. I forgot to. And we'll also take a look at the early slate of games in the NFL. And then in the final part of the show, we'll take a look at the late slate of Week 11 in the NFL. So let's get into the first topic, which is discussing the Eagles-Commanders game from last night. So it did seem like it was, high scoring from, well, not that high scoring from the final score here, but it really wasn't. It was pretty low scoring. The game wasn't that entertaining pretty much the whole time until we got to the fourth quarter where the Eagles pulled away. And the Commanders, they had the lead for a large portion of the game, but the game kind of changed when the Commanders went for it on fourth down late. They went for it on 4th and 2, and they didn't convert because the Eagles went ahead. They were up 12-10, and the Commanders were driving, and it was 4th and 2, and many people said they should have kicked the field goal. But instead, they went for it on 4th down. They didn't get it, and the momentum flipped, and the Eagles did not look back. Now, I did tell you guys before the game, I said I had the Commanders winning, but before the season started, I had the Eagles winning the division. So either way, I would have been happy in some capacity. And the Eagles, well, I shouldn't say I'm happy because, I'm a Giant fan, but the Eagles did win, and that puts them in a good position to kind of take this division and run away with it. Anthony in the chat, good to see you. Question, are you surprised that the Commanders are playing this well with the rookie quarterback and being top of the NFC East and possibly the whole conference? Well, they're not top of the NFC East anymore with this loss. I still think this team can be a playoff team, but they got to start getting back to their winning ways because now they've lost their last two games. And these were big tests for them, against Steelers and against the Eagles, and they're 0-2. And we'll talk a little bit more about them record-wise in a second because now some people are questioning the Commanders and whether or not they are legit. I still think this team, like I said, it can be a playoff team. But Yeah, the Eagles' offense did struggle to get it going. I was kind of questioning the play calling. Why is it that, you got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and it just seemed like they weren't throwing it deep. But, and also, like, Saquon Barkley ended up having a big game, but it was really he ended up having a big fourth quarter when he took over the game. And he is their best offensive player right now. There's no question about it. He really, what a pickup for him, or for the Eagles. He's been worth it. And, of course, at the end of the broadcast, on the Amazon broadcast, they're having Saquon come on and join the Amazon crew. And, you have Eagles fans chanting, "Thank you, Giants." And one of my friends last night in our group chat said that, he said, well, first he said, giving Saquon to the Eagles, was that the dumbest move in sports history? Well, first of all, the Giants did not give Saquon to the Eagles. Okay, he left to join the Eagles. And the Giants made offers to him, and he just didn't accept them. And in terms of in sports history, so in all of sports, not even close. Not even close. And if Saquon was still on the Giants would be in the same position they're in right now. I'm happy for Saquon. I'm happy that he is on a team that is able to utilize him the way they can. And that he's able to run behind an offensive line that can actually block for him. That second touchdown run that he had, it was like the separation of the ocean. It just opened up for him. The middle of the field, there was nobody there. He could have had 3 touchdowns last night. The first one, he gets tackled down at the 1, and of course they run the tush push. And then he had the first one, which was on 3rd down, I believe, late in the game. And then the second one, which pretty much sealed it. So, yeah, would it have been nice to keep Saquon? Yes. But he would not be having the season that he's having if he was with the Giants. And the Giants would still be in the same position they're in right now. So, let's just get that out of our heads. So, let's kind of go through the game summary. So actually, Jake Elliott kind of struggled a little bit. Missed a couple of field goals, missed an extra point as well, which could have been costly, but didn't matter. Because the Eagles, they went 11 plays, 88 yards down the field on their opening drive, and it was a 44-yard field goal, and he missed it. And he's usually automatic, so that was kind of surprising. Then you had 2 straight punts. Commanders go down the field, 4 plays, 58 yards, 2 minutes of time of possession. You had a 34-yard reception by Austin Eckler. Brian Robinson Jr. made his return last night, and he had a good game. He had a 1-yard touchdown later in the drive, so that made it 7-0. More punts. The Eagles missed another field goal. More punts in the second quarter. It was 7-3 at the half. Jake Elliott kicked a 21-yard field goal, and then the Commanders turned it over on downs in this was the last drive of the first half, so that didn't really matter. So, yeah, 7-3 Commanders. Then the Commanders open up the second half with a field goal. Zane Gonzalez, a 45-yard field goal, so that made it 10-3. Then the Eagles made it 10-6 on their first drive of the second half. Jake Elliott kicked a 31-yard field goal. And then the Commanders punted. Eagles, then on their next drive, they go 11 plays, 76 yards. And that leads to a Jalen Hurts 1-yard touchdown, which was the tush push. Then this is where everything changed in the fourth quarter. The Commanders go for it on 4th and 2, and they don't get it, and the Eagles turn that into a touchdown. Now, the Commanders almost pulled off a great play because there was a 32-yard pass play to Dallas Goedert. It gets punched out by the Commanders, but the Eagles recover it. So that could have, flipped the game back into the Commanders' favor, but it was a bad break there. And later that just led to Saquon's 23-yard touchdown run on 3rd and 3. And then on the very first play of the Commanders' next drive, Jaden Daniels throws a pick. And then that leads to another Eagles touchdown. That was a Saquon Barkley 39-yard touchdown. And then the Commanders got the ball back. They ended up scoring a touchdown to Zach Ertz from 5 yards out. Then they went for 2, and Zach Ertz made a great catch. Originally, it was ruled incomplete, but they reviewed it, and he got both feet in bounds. So that was great. That was a great play by him. So that made it 26-18. They go for the onside kick. They don't get it, and the Eagles win. Jalen Hurts, 221 yards passing, went 18 of 28. No touchdowns, no interceptions. Saquon Barkley, again, great game for him. 26 carries, 146 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts had a rushing touchdown in this game. Eagles ran the ball for 228 yards in total. A.J. Brown, 5 for 65. Dallas Goedert, 5 receptions for 61 yards. Barkley, 2 for 52. Devontae Smith, 4 for 29. Eagles defense played well in this game. They had 3 sacks of Jaden Daniels. And then on the other side, Jaden Daniels, 22 of 32, 191 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Brian Robinson Jr. back, 16 carries for 63 yards and a touchdown. Austin Eckler, their leading receiver, 8 receptions for 89 yards. And also, surprise in this game, Terry McLaurin, 1 reception for 10 yards. That's it. Many people were saying he was going to have a big game. You know, the Amazon crew, they had him, going off in their same game parlay for over 77 yards, and he only had 1 catch. So that was definitely surprising, because Terry McLaurin usually does do well against the Eagles, but he just didn't last night. So yeah, kind of a disappointing game for him. 2 sacks by the Commanders' defense, but the Eagles improved to 8-2 on the season, and right now they're in the driver's seat to win the NFC East, and that's what I had at the beginning of the year. And for the Commanders, I did want to bring this up though. I still think they're a good team, but if you take a look at some of their wins, the Giants, when they had no kicker, the Hail Mary against the Bears, they beat up on the Panthers, who aren't good. They beat up on the Browns, who aren't good. They beat the Bengals, which everybody thought was a signature win, but the Bengals' defense has been one of the worst in the league. They beat up on the Cardinals. Cardinals are in first place. And then they beat the Giants again. And then you look at their losses. They lost against the Bucs early on. They played well against the Ravens, though. I mean, they only lost by 7. They had an opportunity to maybe win that game. They lose to the Steelers by a point. And then you had the lead against the Eagles, but then the momentum shifted when they went for it on 4th down. So maybe the Commanders aren't as good as their record shows. I, again, still think they're a good team, but Jaden Daniels has struggled recently, and he is a little banged up still. So, that could maybe play a part in that. But I still think they're in a good spot to make the playoffs. Their next 2 games, they got Dallas and the Titans at home. I mean, those should be wins, but we'll see. So, just wanted to bring that up. If you guys had any opinions on that, let me know. But the Eagles are in the driver's seat. I had them winning the division. So, you look at the updated standings right now. They're the 2 seed behind the Lions. And then you got the Falcons who are leading the NFC South. And then I just need the 49ers to take over in the NFC West, and all my division winners will be correct in the NFC. So we'll see what happens. But again, let me know what you guys think in the comments about this game. Saquon Barkley was the player of the game, took over. He has been a home run signing for them, which doesn't surprise me. So we're going to take our first break now. When we come back, we will talk about the Bills-Chiefs game, another chapter in the Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen saga. We will get into that when we return from our first break. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh,
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are going to now get into talking about the Chiefs-Bills matchup for this Sunday, one of the biggest games of the weekend. And, the latest chapter, like I keep saying, between Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Now, Patrick Mahomes has owned Josh Allen in the postseason, and Josh Allen has owned Patrick Mahomes in the regular season. What's going to happen in this this latest matchup between the two quarterbacks? And Chiefs right now are 9-0, the only undefeated team remaining in the NFL, and the Bills are 8-2. And this is a rematch of last year's playoff matchup where the Chiefs got the win in the divisional round to go to the AFC Championship game once again. And, I think this is a big game for the Bills, or a bigger game for the Bills, in my opinion. I think the Bills, they want to avenge that playoff loss. And, well, obviously they do. And, the Chiefs, they're 9-0. But they offensively, they still are not right yet. And I think this is a game here where they really are going to have to step up their game offensively, because this is the best team that they have gone up against so far. Well, second best team, maybe, because the Ravens were probably the first. But the Ravens, that was the first game of the year. I would have liked to have seen that matchup later in the season. And maybe we will. Maybe we'll see it if they match up in the playoffs. But this is one of the best teams that they're going to go up against. And that game was at home. This is now on the road. So, and that place is going to be going crazy for this game. But right now, Patrick Mahomes is 4-3 against Josh Allen. He is 1-2 against Josh, or 1-3 against Josh Allen in the in the regular season, and then he's 3-0 against Josh Allen in the postseason. So when they first matched up in 2020, it was in the regular season, and that was in Buffalo, and the Chiefs won that game 26-17. Then they played each other in the AFC Championship game, and the Chiefs won that 38-24. Then the following season, in the regular season, the Bills won 38-20, and then they matched up in the playoffs, and that was one of the greatest playoff games of all time. And the Chiefs won that in overtime, 42-36. Then the Bills won in the regular season. The following season, 24-20. They won in the regular season last year, 20-17, and that's, of course, when Kadarius Toney lined up off sides. And, they would have had a touchdown, but because of that penalty, that got called back, and Patrick Mahomes went nuts over that. But the Bills escaped with the victory. But then they lost in the divisional round, 27-24. Tyler Bass had the opportunity to kick a game-tying field goal that could have sent it into overtime, and he ended up missing it. So maybe he redeems himself and kicks a game winner in this game. So for the most part, usually when these two teams play against each other, the game is always close. And I expect that here. I expect both quarterbacks to play well. Like I said, the Chiefs are going to have to step up their game offensively, if they're going to want to win this game. Because if they, have struggles where, Mahomes is turning the ball over and things like that, they could lose. And Josh Allen, he's done a nice job at limiting the turnovers. Did throw a couple of picks in the game against the Colts, but for the most part, he has done a good job at, not turning it over. So we'll see what happens here. The Chiefs are a very good defense, and these teams know each other well. So I wouldn't be surprised if both quarterbacks turn it over in this game. Although last year, I don't think there was a single, well, with the quarterbacks. I think there were turnovers in other areas, but I could be wrong though. I don't remember if there were any turnovers in the playoff game last year. Both of them didn't throw picks. I don't think either of them threw picks last year. So we'll see what happens. But to kind of look at the league rankings for these two teams, so looking at them, the Chiefs are 10th in passing yards per game. The Bills are 16th. Rushing yards per game, the Bills are 15th. The Chiefs are 21st. And then points per game, the Bills are 3rd and the Chiefs are 11th. Then defensively, the Chiefs are 13th against the pass. The Bills are 19th. Against the run, Chiefs do a nice job against the run. They're top 3. They're 3rd, and the Bills are 15th. And then points allowed, both teams are top 10. Chiefs are 5th, and the Bills are 9th. So, and the Chiefs, they still don't have Isaiah Pacheco. They're hopefully getting him back within the next couple of weeks. And Kareem Hunt has done a nice job of filling in. Travis Kelce has gotten more involved, with the injuries that they've had to deal with. DeAndre Hopkins, he's gotten it going these last couple of games. Not as good of a game as he had against the Broncos than the game that he had against Tampa. He had a couple of touchdowns in that. But, he's been doing okay for them. I think they're getting Juju Smith-Schuster back for this game. So, good to get him back. So, we'll see what happens. And then for the Bills, it's going to be interesting because they did not have Keon Coleman and they didn't have Amari Cooper. And I think they should be getting Amari Cooper back, which would be huge because, they got him for a reason. But, yeah, Keon Coleman's already ruled out against Kansas City with the wrist injury. Amari Cooper also dealing with a wrist injury. He's been a limited participant in practice, so maybe he plays. But that would be big getting him back for this game. They got him for this reason. But also, actually, big injury for the Chiefs. Harrison Butker, placed on IR. He's going to be out, so they don't have their Pro Bowl kicker for this game. So, we'll see what happens. But I don't think they didn't have him last week either against the Broncos, right? I have to do a quick check there. But yeah, that's one injury. Yeah, actually no, he did play in that game. But yeah, he's gonna be out. He's gonna be out till I thought they placed him on IR. But yeah, he's not playing in this game. So it doesn't look like. But now, what do I think is going to happen? Who do I think is going to win? So, I actually will take the Bills in this game. I'm already 0-1 to start off the week. I took the Commanders, and of course they lost. I am going to take the Bills because the Bills, they beat the Chiefs in the regular season. I think Josh Allen right now is playing better than Patrick Mahomes. And I just think they get the win here. It's going to be a close game. The Chiefs' offense, has kind of struggled. Now, that doesn't mean that the Chiefs' defense can't step up and wreak havoc, because they definitely can, or wreak havoc. You do worry about Josh Allen and the turnovers, but again, he's done a nice job at limiting them this year. But I think that at least this time around, I think the Bills get the best of the Chiefs. But it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough game on both sides. Because the Chiefs' defense can keep it close, and the Bills don't run away with it. And I don't expect the Bills to run away with it. I expect this to be, within a touchdown in this game. So I'm going to say the Bills win by the same score of the divisional round from last year. I'm going to say the Bills win 27-24. And Tyler Bass kicks a late go-ahead field goal. And he avenges his miss from last year. But we'll see. Let me know what you guys think, though. Who do you think wins? Let me know in the comments. And we'll see if the Bills are able to establish a run game here, because the Chiefs' defense does a good job at stopping the run. Can James Cook have a big game here? Like I said, get Amari Cooper for this game. Get him back, so at least you have him back for this game. Utilize the tight ends, of course, and we'll see how this Bills defense, which has not been bad this year, we'll see if they could force any turnovers off of Patrick Mahomes. But the Chiefs know how big of a game this is, too. I mean, this isn't the playoffs, but it's a big game. This is a big game. The Chiefs right now are 9-0. Bills got 2 losses, but, the Bills can win this game. That narrows the gap. And then they would need the Bills would need to continue to win, and the Chiefs would need to lose one more, and then the Bills would jump over them, and, they would be the team that has home field advantage. So there is some things at stake here. Again, I don't expect the Chiefs to go undefeated. I mean, if they do, it wouldn't surprise me. But they got to lose at some point, right? So I think this is the game that they do end up losing. But it is going to be very tough. But let me know what you guys think, though. Who wins? Let me know in the comments. So when we come back from our next break, actually, before we go to break, I forgot to remind you guys, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the Super Chat button. Make sure to click on that Super Chat button to see me acknowledge any thought or comment you may have throughout the live broadcast. Makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate you guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCpodcast.net. That is GSMCpodcast.net. So, when we come back from our next break, we will discuss the other big matchup in the AFC, and that is between 2 AFC North teams, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. So we will get into that and discuss it. A little bit of a typo here because I put NFC instead of AFC. But we will discuss that when we come back from our next break. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to now get into discussing the big AFC North matchup between the Steelers and the Ravens. And this is a battle for first place. So we just had the battle for first place in the AFC East now with the AFC North. We'll talk about that. And, yeah, it's kind of a surprise because you would have thought that it was going to be between the Ravens and the Bengals, or a lot of people would have thought that before the year started, but it's not the case. The Steelers have played really well this year. I mean, I expected them to be a team that finishes with the winning record, but I did not expect them to be 7-2 at this point. And, you know, they could very easily be 8-1. because I still don't know how they lost that game to the Cowboys. They should not have lost that game. And they also lost to the Colts too. So, they lost to two football teams with losing records. I mean, if you win, you're undefeated right now. But either way, 7-2 is very impressive, and this is the best case for them right now because they got the tough part of their schedule. They're in it now. And I don't think this team is going to go winless. They're going to win at least, I think they're going to get to 10 wins. And that's going to be good enough to get you in the playoffs. Now, I still like the Ravens to win this division, but the Ravens have had their problems with this team. They have. Last year, Steelers won both games. Now, one of them, the Ravens had did not play their starters. But the first game, Lamar Jackson did not play well in that. I'll see if I could pull that up and read off his stats from that game. But the Ravens, for some reason, the Steelers are their kryptonite. And, it's because they're a division rival and, they know each other very well. Really the only things that haven't changed from these two teams is the head coaches. I mean, John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin, they've been around for a while. That's really the only thing that hasn't changed is the two head coaches. But yeah, go back to last year. So Lamar Jackson went 22 of 38 for 236 yards, no touchdowns and a pick. Kenny Pickett went 18 of 32 for 224 yards, a touchdown. George Pickens had a big game, 6 receptions for 130 yards and a touchdown, the go-ahead touchdown to put them up, the Steelers. But Lamar Jackson, he had a bad red zone interception in that game. I remember that. I don't know if he had a fumble in the game, but the Steelers are going to give him problems in this game, I believe. I think the key for the Ravens is, rely on that running game. Rely on Derrick Henry to take over because that is a guy that the Ravens have not had. This is the first time that he will be introduced to the Ravens-Steelers rivalry. And I think maybe they could find some success. No, they are going to find success with running the football. Derrick Henry did not have a big game last week against the Bengals. The Bengals did a good job at limiting him. Now, I don't know if the Steelers are going to be able to do that in this game, but we'll see. And looking at the league rankings of both teams, Ravens are 4th in passing yards per game. The Steelers are 26th. Both teams are good at running. We know that. Ravens are the number 1 rushing team in the NFL. Steelers are 8th. And then points per game, Ravens are 1st, and the Steelers are 12th. And then defensively, the Ravens are the number 1 team at stopping the run, but they're also last against the pass. Pass defense is not good. The Steelers are pretty good at stopping the run as well. They're 4th. They're giving up an average of 87.1 rushing yards per game. And then, the Steelers are 23rd against the pass. And then points allowed, the Steelers' defense is 2nd. Ravens is 25th. So I do think this is going to be, regardless, it's going to be a competitive game. And, you saw Russell Wilson throwing up those moon balls last week, the go-ahead touchdown to Mike Williams. That incredible touchdown catch by George Pickens early on in the game. So I expect we'll see some moon balls in this game with the Ravens secondary struggling the way it is. So, and the Ravens are the number 1 team at stopping the run. So, that's something that the Steelers like to do. Although I did see that Jaylen Warren appeared on the injury report. I think he's dealing with a back issue, so it's possible that he misses this game, which is unfortunate because he actually, was getting healthy and he started to run the football like how he was last year. And, you lose him for this game, that's a big deal. That's a big deal because he's been a good player for them. But I've liked what I've seen from Russell Wilson. I don't think he's playing spectacular, but he definitely is playing better with the Steelers than he, had been the previous 2 seasons with the Broncos. So, but that's what happens. The Steelers and Mike Tomlin, they believe in him. Sean Payton last year, he didn't want Russell Wilson. He didn't. But now he's got his guy in Bo Nix who's doing well. So, but yeah, Russell Wilson has stepped in, and we all kind of questioned why they made the switch because Justin Fields was playing well and they were winning games. But we can all be quiet now because Russell Wilson is doing a good job. And we'll see what happens in this game. The Steelers are home; they're 3.5-point underdogs. I actually am going to take them with the points, and I might take them to win outright. But last night, taking the Commanders, and they ended up losing. Now, the Commanders were away. The Eagles were the home team. The Steelers are home for this game. So I could see the scenario where, the Steelers win here and then the Ravens get them in Baltimore later in the year. But I think the Steelers continue to beat the Ravens. I think it'll be a tight game, just like the Bills and Chiefs game. I think it wouldn't surprise me if it becomes a defensive battle. Again, the both teams are a little vulnerable against the pass, so that's where they're going to have to maybe win it. But then again, how are the Steelers going to do against Derrick Henry? Are they going to be able to limit him? Are they going to... I think they'll take what the Bengals did and apply it. They got the guys to do it. And then, of course, what you see on the graphic, T.J. Watt coming off the edge. He could take over a game. So, we'll see if the Ravens are able to limit him in this game. So, this is a game to definitely look forward to. I think it's gonna be entertaining. Both teams are playing really well. Give the Steelers a lot of credit because I don't think a lot of people expected them to be, including myself. I expect them to have a winning record. I did not expect them to be 7-2 at this point and, competing for first place. But this is a team that is in a great position to make the playoffs. Even if they lose this game, they still are in a great position to make the playoffs. And they're another team that could be a problem. But I will say, and I've said that a bunch of times, Steelers fans don't want to just make the playoffs. They don't want to settle. They want to win this game, put themselves in a good position, a better position to win this division, get into the playoffs, host a playoff game, and win a playoff game. Enough of just making it. They want to see more. So, winning this game would go a long way. And I think they have a great shot to do so. And I think Russell Wilson has done a great job for the most part at, with ball security. He threw a pick in the game against Commanders, but that was basically an arm punt. But we'll see. I do like them to win. I'm going to say it's 23-20, something like that. Maybe Boswell kicks a field goal late. Maybe Justin Tucker misses a field goal because he's kind of struggled at times this year. But because I picked the Steelers, that probably means that the Ravens are going to end up winning. But we'll see. It should be a good game, and I'm looking forward to it. I don't know who's broadcasting. I know it's a CBS game, but we know Nance and Romo are going to be in Buffalo doing Chiefs Bills. So I'm assuming this would be an Iron Eagle vehicle, but we'll see. But let me know what you guys think about this game. Who do you think wins? Let me know in the comments. Curious to see what happens. So when we come back from our next break, we will take a look at. Well, first what we'll do is we'll take a look at the college football playoff rankings, just so I don't forget. We'll take a look at that. We'll take a look back at the matchups from last week, how they all went, and then we'll take a look at the matchups for this week. And then we'll get into the early slate of games in the NFL, and that'll be our fourth segment. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we are going to now take a look at the college football matchups for this weekend, as well as taking a look at the early slate of games for Sunday. But I did want to get into looking at the college football playoff rankings before we do anything, because I was supposed to do that the other day, and then I forgot. So this is what we have. So at 1, you got Oregon. No surprise there. They're 10-0. I was going to say they're the only undefeated team, but we also have Indiana, who's 5. Then you got Ohio State at 2, Texas at 3, Penn State 4, Indiana 5, BYU 6, Tennessee 7, Notre Dame 8, Miami 9, Alabama 10, Ole Miss 11, Georgia 12, Boise State 13, SMU 14, Texas A&M 15, Kansas State 16, Colorado 17, Washington State 18, Louisville 19, Clemson 20, South Carolina 21, LSU 22, Missouri 23, Army 24, and then Tulane at 25. So Indiana has a big game this week, and that is against Ohio State, at Ohio State. That is a huge game for them. And, talking about it in the production meeting as well, if they lose this game, I mean, it could be like a Florida State scenario where they just flat out miss out on the playoffs. So it's a huge game for them. They have been a surprise team this year. And, if they could win at Ohio State, that would go a long way. Oregon, they got Wisconsin and Washington the next 2 games. I mean, they should win both of those. It would be surprised if they end up losing. But, yeah, if they win both, I mean, they're staying at that 1 spot. Texas, they got Arkansas this week, Kentucky next week, and then Texas A&M the last week of the season. I feel like they should win all those games. Penn State losing their first game to Ohio State a couple weeks ago. They got Purdue, Minnesota, and Maryland. I feel like they should win all those games. Georgia falling 9 spots, which is a surprise. They just lost to Ole Miss 28-10. Carson Beck did not play well in that game. 186 yards passing, no touchdowns, and a pick. He also had 2 fumbles, and he did lose 1. So they got Tennessee, who's 7th. And this is a home game for them, so, we'll see what happens there. They need to win that game. Alabama, they're actually going up against Mercer, who's 9-1 on the season, but they should win that game. Then they got Oklahoma and Auburn to close out the year. But those are the rankings right now. And, we'll see what happens this week. We'll take a look at the matchups here. So I know I went through some of them. But, yeah, you got Tulane and Navy, Clemson and Pitt, Colorado and Utah. Texas, like I said, is playing Arkansas. Ohio State's playing Northwestern. I think they should win that. Alabama against Mercer, who's 9-1, but I think they should win that. LSU taking on Florida. Again, got a feel for Florida and the schedule that they've had. It's been a tough one for them. They've had to play Tennessee, Georgia, Texas. They had Miami early on in the season. I don't really trust Miami. Ever since that Virginia Tech game, I was not surprised that they lost last week. They lost to Georgia Tech. Texas beat Florida. Ohio State was all over Purdue. They won 45-0. Indiana beat Michigan 20-15. That was a close game. Ole Miss beat Georgia 28-10. Colorado 7-2, 41-27. They won over the Red Raiders. Eston Genty continues his unbelievable season. 34 carries, 209 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That was against Nevada. Curious to see where he ends up in the NFL draft. Penn State had a bounce-back game, 35-6 over Washington. So they're 8-1. Alabama all over LSU. I took LSU. So I was wrong there. 42-13. They blew them out. Notre Dame blew out Florida State. We talked about Florida State for a bit before, but, I mean, they lost. well, not even that. They went undefeated last year, and now they're 1-9. Just disaster of a season for them. They lose 52-3 to Notre Dame. Oregon 39-18 over Maryland. But yeah, so we'll see what happens this week. There are some good games. Like I said, Tennessee and Georgia. You also got 23 ranked Missouri against 21 ranked South Carolina. And then, like I said, early on in the day, I mean, you also have LSU in Florida, like I said. But we'll see. We'll see what happens this weekend. But we're getting closer and closer to the playoffs there, bowl games. So, got a lot of big stuff coming up. All right, so now let's take a look at the NFL slate, or the early slate for this Sunday. So, you got the Packers coming off of a bye against the Bears. Bears are 4-5. They, made a change at offensive coordinator. And actually, the line opened up at, well, it was at 6.5. Now it's down to 5.5. I do like the Packers to win this game, but do the Bears put together a better offensive showing, with the change? Or is it going to be more of the same? The points is tough to go by because, Jordan Love has turned the ball over this year. He's had a problem with that. But the Bears, they just have not put up points these last few weeks. They haven't scored an offensive touchdown since the Commanders-Bears game from a couple weeks ago. So I think the Packers win. I'm not really sure what to do in terms of do the Bears cover or not, because it is a big number. But then again, Packers are coming off of a bye, so we'll see. Then we got the 2-8 Jaguars against the 8-1 Lions. Right now the Lions are 14-point favorites. There is no Trevor Lawrence in this game. It's going to be Mac Jones again. I mean, I think the Lions, it's a really big number, and it's really tough to lay the points there, or take the points. But I think the Lions should win by 3 scores. The Jaguars, it's a lost season for them. Mac Jones didn't play great against the Vikings. I don't really expect him to play well in this spot. I mean, maybe they put up some points, but I think the Lions should win comfortably at home, so I'm going to take them in this game after their dramatic. I mean, then again, they had that dramatic win against the Texans. Maybe this is a trap game. Who knows? But I think I'm going to take the Lions. Then we got the Raiders and the Dolphins. Dolphins, picked up a big win against the Rams. Didn't expect them to do it, but they did. Their defense was the big story from that game. I like them to win this game, and I think they cover. I think Gardner Minshew's getting the start, and they continue to roll. The Raiders, it's a lost season for them. Then you got the Rams and the Patriots. Rams losing to the Dolphins, like I said. I like them to bounce back in this spot, but again, the Patriots are 4.5-point underdogs. They are playing better with Drake May at quarterback, so maybe they do keep it within the number. But I think the Rams do win this game, and I think they get it going offensively again. Then you got the 3-7 Saints coming off of a win against the Falcons against the 2-7 Browns, who are coming off of a bye. Jameis Winston going up against one of his former teams. I actually like the Saints to win, them being at home. But I do think this will be a close game. But I'll take the Saints. And then we got the Vikings and the Titans. Titans are 6-point underdogs at home. Sam Darnold has not been playing great the last couple of weeks. I do think the Vikings win, but and Will Levis actually didn't look that bad against the Chargers. So maybe, they keep it within the number, but I do like the Vikings to win. And then we got the Jets, who are actually 4-point favorites at home against the Colts. Yeah, I don't really know what to do with this game. I really have no idea. Maybe Anthony Richardson's, I talked about him earlier in the week. Him sitting, he said that it helped him. So maybe it did, and he comes out and he plays well. I am going to take the Colts to cover, but it would not surprise me if the Jets win this game, because this is what happened a couple weeks ago against the Texans. They were favored and they ended up winning the game. So I am going to take the Colts to cover. But who wins this game? I mean, the Jets just, they look lost right now. I mean, they have been. So I guess, I pick against them, they'll win. If I don't pick against them and I end up picking them, then they lose. So I'll just take the Colts. But this is, both teams, if they want to keep their seasons alive, one of them has to win unless they tie. But I'm just going to take the Colts. I'm curious to see how Anthony Richardson looks. Did that 2-game absence help him? We're going to find out when these teams play against each other. I mean, this is a defense that struggles against the run. And, you got Jonathan Taylor, you got Anthony Richardson that likes to run the football. So, that could be a problem. But we'll see. But let me know what you guys think about the early slate of games in the NFL. Also, any college football matchups that intrigue you this weekend, let me know in the comments. So, we are going to take our final break of the show now. And then when we come back, we will discuss the late slate. We'll talk about the Sunday night game between the Bengals and the Chargers. And that will pretty much wrap up the show and wrap up this week for us. So, for one final time today, make sure to stick around. And we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we are going to now get into talking about the late slate of games in the NFL. So we will start off, I know we talked about the Chiefs and the Bills already, but we'll start off with, this is actually an interesting game, Falcons and the Broncos. So the Broncos are 5-5, coming off of a loss against the Chiefs, and the Falcons are coming off of a loss against the Saints. They're 6-4, and I don't get the Falcons. I keep saying it. I just don't get them, because you think they figured it out, and then they lay an egg, and that's what they did last week. I mean, Younghoe Koo was missing field goals. They struggled to get into the end zone. Kirk Cousins had another interception. I mean, if you take out the 2 games against the Buccaneers, I mean, Kirk Cousins really has not been great. He's been great against the Buccaneers, but against other teams, he's just, he still hasn't looked right. But you know what? Having said that, the Falcons, their running game has been good. They're in first place. So, what is there really to complain about? Well, no, there is stuff to complain about. But still, they're in first place. And the Broncos, they're in a playoff spot right now. Bo Nix has been playing better. They had an opportunity to win against the Chiefs, and unfortunately they lose in heartbreaking fashion. They lose on a blocked field goal, which, I mean, that would have been such a big win for them. But they end up losing. But they're still in first place. What am I saying? They're still in a playoff spot. And they're 5-5. They're 2-point favorites. I actually do like them to win this game, because I just, again, the Falcons, they're still not right. Kirk Cousins hopefully has a better game, and maybe he shocks everybody, and I hope he does well because I have him in fantasy, and I need him to do well. And he has been serviceable, and he has helped me win some matchups. Like that week against the Buccaneers when they won in overtime, I mean, that helped me win my matchup because he had 34 points in that game. And Tyler Algier. And I think the Falcons defense, although it's not, a top unit, but I think it could keep it close. I think this game's going to be close, but I like the Broncos to win with them being at home. So I'm going to take the Broncos to win and get to 6-5 on the season. So that's my thoughts on that game. Then we got a rematch from, which week was it? It was on that Thursday night. That was that was week 6? Wow. I feel like that was yesterday. Not really, but I feel like that was like more recent than that. But anyways, Seahawks are coming in at 4-5, taking on the 5-4 San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers got Christian McCaffrey back. Ricky Pearsall scored a touchdown. It was a dicey game though. The Niners could have lost that game. Jake Moody missing a bunch of field goals. But they ended up escaping with the win. They're 5-4. They're back over 500. And I do like them to win in this game. I really do believe that they are going to go on a run here. And I'm curious to see, after this game, they take on the Packers in Lambeau, and then they take on the Bills. And that's also a road game on Sunday Night Football. But I think they're up for the challenge. And then, of course, later in the year, they'll be taking on the Lions at home, and that's on a Monday night. So that's on New Year's Eve. So on December 30th. So I'm looking forward to that. But they got some tough games coming up in the schedule. And the Seahawks, look, they're a divisional opponent. So they're going to be a little bit of a thorn in the 49ers side in this game. But I think the 49ers, it's one of those games I think maybe it's close for a little bit and then the 49ers pull away. They're 6.5-point favorites, and I like them to win and cover. And they're getting healthy at the right time, like I said. And if you can get your guys back on defense, I mean, that would be huge as well. So I like the 49ers to win and cover. And then we got the Sunday night game between Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert. This is going to be the second meeting between these two quarterbacks because the Chargers, Burrow played the Chargers in week 1, but Tyrod Taylor started that game. Then they played each other, I think it was 2022. They played against each other, and Justin Herbert won that game. So actually, let's see if I could pull up that matchup. I think it was 2022. Both quarterbacks, I think both quarterbacks played well. Yeah, the Chargers ended up winning 41-22. Yeah, this was actually 2021. My mistake. Both teams were 7-5 at that point. So Justin Herbert, he went 26-35 for 317 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick, and Joe Burrow 24-40, 300 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 picks. T. Higgins had a touchdown in that game. I think he has a chance to play this weekend. I don't know if he will. Also, actually, speaking of T. Higgins, so barring, a miracle, it seems like he is, which I think we all kind of figured, he's most likely out after this year with the Bengals, and he's going to be going elsewhere. And they're going to pay Jamar Chase, and I think we all expected that. So, yeah, that was there was some reports that came out with that, but I don't think that we kind of all knew that was happening. They're going to prioritize keeping Jamar Chase over T. Higgins. Also, actually, so looking at the injuries right now, so Trey Hendrickson didn't practice on Thursday. He's questionable against the Chargers, so that's something to keep an eye on. T. Higgins has been limited at practice, so getting him back would be huge. Bengals coming in at 4-6, Chargers at 6-3. I do like the Chargers in this game. I think there's going to be a lot of points being scored here. The Chargers have one of the best defenses in the NFL right now. Jim Harbaugh has done great at turning this team around. Justin Herbert has started to air it out a little bit more. They're running the football. They got Gus Edwards back now. So you have him and J.K. Dobbins running the football. So I do think this game could be back and forth. The Bengals defense is not great. But, and I think Joe Burrow and getting T. Higgins back, I think they will find success even against the Chargers defense. I think there will be points scored. But I just think the Chargers are the better team. And, they're starting to get hot. They've won now, I think, 3 in a row. Or 2 in a row. They're 6-3. Actually, no, they have won 3 in a row. My mistake. They've won 3 in a row. And, they're at that tough part of the schedule here. You got the Bengals offense you got to deal with. Then you got the Ravens the following week, the Falcons, the Chiefs. There's tough games coming up. So, I think they'll be able to handle it because, they got a good defense. They can run the football. They're well coached. So, we'll see. But I'm encouraged by Justin Herbert and, them kind of opening up this offense a little bit more because, it's gone through a lot of changes with the coaching staff and personnel. And, there's no Keenan Allen, there's no Mike Williams, no Austin Eckler anymore. But he's made it work with what they have. Quinn Johnston's looked good. You still got Joshua Palmer there who's making plays. Ladd McConkey. And the running game has been good with Dobbins. So, and I said before the year I thought this team, could be sneaky good. Maybe they, are competing for a playoff spot. And they're in a playoff spot right now. They're in a good spot. So we'll see where they are at the end of the year. But they are going to be a dangerous team if they make the playoffs. And, Jim Harbaugh has plenty of playoff experience and big game experience, just after winning the national championship last year with Michigan, especially, playing in all those NFC championship games with the Niners, playing in a Super Bowl or coaching in a Super Bowl with the Niners. So, yeah, this team will be able to handle it. And I'm happy to see it because, Justin Herbert is one of the better quarterbacks in the league. And it's about time that he got the right head coach. And he does have that in Harbaugh. So I like the Chargers to win this game. But if the Bengals got to win, though. They're 4-6. And, they've been playing catch-up the whole year. Imagine they didn't lose to the Patriots. They'd be 5-5. They'd be, they'd be in a better spot. I don't know how they lost to the Patriots, but that's what happens. They struggle in the beginning of the year, but they usually recover. They haven't recovered yet. But this win could go a long way for them. So to kind of go through it, I like the Packers, the Steelers, the Lions, the Dolphins, the Rams, the Saints, the Vikings, the Colts. Don't feel great about it. Broncos, 49ers, Bills, Chargers. And then, of course, we'll go over the Monday night matchup between the Cowboys and the Texans on Monday. We'll preview that Monday morning when I'm doing my show then. But let me know what you guys think. What games are you most excited for this weekend? Let me know in the comments. But that is pretty much it for the show for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to check out all the other shows as well. I had a couple of changes, of course, to the lineup. But make sure to check out all the other shows, all the other content that we have coming out on the network. We greatly appreciate it. I hope everybody has a good weekend. Enjoy the games this weekend. Football is rapidly approaching the end. We still got some time, but we're almost halfway through, pretty much halfway through November already, which is unbelievable. Time continues to fly. And, so like I said, enjoy the games this weekend. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the video, and I'll make sure to have the segments reposted later on in the day. Also look out for some of the shorts that'll come out as well. And, as always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day. Enjoy the games this weekend, and I will talk to you guys on Monday. Take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.